French military operation continues in Mali to drive Islamists out of the country's north. A former U.S. ambassador to the North African country has argued that French foreign policy is to blame for allowing Islamists to flourish in Mali. Vicky Huddleston, who was the U.S. ambassador to Mali 10 years ago, spoke with French TV network Etel and said France has in the past paid ransom money to some of the same Islamists that it is now battling in northern Mali.
About 2 years ago, the al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb took hostages, French hostages, at the Yellow Cake uranium mine in northern Niger. And France paid ransom for the release of these hostages. The alleged amount is 17 million. Of course, France didn't walk over to the Salafists and say, here's your $17 million. The ransom, like all other ransoms paid, were paid indirectly, ended up in the hands of the Malian government, and then were turned over, at least part of it, to the Salafists.
Huddleston's allegations add weight to the argument that Mali's Islamist takeover was funded largely by ransoms paid in recent years. The ex-U.S. envoy says it's no big secret what prompts extremists to let go of their hostages.
I assume that most people who are watching what's going on in the Sahel, especially the Algerians, know exactly what's happening when hostages are released. And although governments deny that they're paying ransom, everyone is pretty much aware that money has passed hands indirectly through different accounts, and it ends up in the treasury, let us say, of al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, and allows them to buy weapons and recruit.
France has always denied paying ransoms for hostages, but many analysts are wondering if Islamists will get a transfer of money in the near future, as al-Qaeda-linked militants are still holding 4 French hostages in the north of the country. Meanwhile, a suicide bomber has hit a checkpoint in northern Mali, killing only himself in the first known suicide attack since the French mission began on January 11th. The attack could signal a new tactic by the Islamist militants that have been on their heels since the French arrived. French forces, supported by troops from Chad, are now pursuing the retreating jihadists into the remote northeast of the country. France hopes that it can start withdrawing its troops by March. These soldiers are part of a UN-backed force, which France hopes that by April can take full control of the operation.